Good morning.
Very interested in the conversation we've heard so far, and I want to just follow up some of the comments Senator Kissel and Representative Fishbein made with regard to how we do things and our differences with DC and so forth. Um, some might argue that those are deficiencies, but that's another conversation altogether. Um, I have a couple of questions. I just want to speak with you generally, and then I have a more specific question. And the first one really has to do with question 5 that is on the survey that we provide and you've responded to for nominees. And this is the one that asks about do you believe the Connecticut Constitution provides the same rights and protections as the U.S. Constitution, et cetera. And I have an issue with the question itself because for someone like me who is a conservative Republican, I believe that rights come from God or a creator, if you will. And so I don't really like the way the question is worded to begin with. But in your answer, you respond by saying that you believe the state constitution provides greater rights and protections than the federal constitution, and that also states are free to develop constitutional rights and protections separate from federal guarantees. And I'm just curious whether or not you adopted this use of wording from the question, or if that's really your view that rights come from government, or whether they come from God, and the duty of government is to preserve those rights.
Yes, I was answering the question specifically and what was asked, and some of the language does track the question, but in actuality, that's our system. The federal constitution does provide some rights, and the state constitution also provides rights, and we can provide greater rights than the federal constitution.
Right. Maybe some of this conversation has to do with, how we're using the term rights. I noticed also in your answer, you mentioned that, for example, the state of Connecticut provides a right to education. And I know that's commonly held and people use that terminology all the time, but the word right doesn't appear in the Constitution with regard to education. It's simply, in my opinion, I would more accurately describe it as a guaranteed entitlement because it's something the government is providing. For me, rights are something that you have naturally, and that the government's not in a position to do anything except for inhibit your access to that. So I don't know if that really helps me. Um, in the political realm, the tension between the political parties is between what the role of government. I would say the role of government is to protect rights and to advance the cause of citizens being able to achieve on their own. And others might argue that the government has a much larger role to play in how we live our lives. And I don't want to put you on the spot to make a political determination, but for me, it's with great interest when I am, faced with, voting on a nomination, whether or not that judge or justice in your case, shares my worldview that the role of government is to effectively protect rights that are already held by citizens, or the government is there determining what is allowed by citizens.
So I will answer it this way. I was not answering that question sort of philosophically about where rights come from and what rights are. I was answering solely in the context of what was asked about the United States Constitution and what it contains and what our state constitution contains. And as a judge, I wouldn't profess to make those broad political statements about where rights generally come from. So I simply was answering, in question 5, I was answering exactly what was asked about what's in the federal constitution and how that relates to the state constitution.
Understood.